Hello and welcome to the EmpowerHer Play podcast. My name is Yashmin, this is Salma, and this is Shafia. And today we have our guest, Sofiha, who works for the Metropolitan Police. Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much
for inviting me.
You're welcome.
So can you tell us a little bit about your background? You're relatively new to the police force. So what did you do before and what made you want to join the police force?
So previously, I was working in banking, retail banking for about 10 years. And then I took a little bit of a gap. And then I worked for Department for Work and Pension for 2 years during COVID. And then I joined the Met Police after. So I'm pretty new. Started in November 2022.
Okay.
Was it something that you had like in the back of your head?
Yeah, so I initially applied for a dispatcher role back in 2012. But I was rejected because I wasn't too fast enough in typing. So you have to do like 32 words per minute, whatever it was at that time. But I was really slow. I think I'd done like 12 or 16, something like that. So I was rejected and that because you have to do a test before you can even apply. So that didn't. But the working for, police has always been an interest of mine. I think it's because I've never seen anyone, like myself in the force. So I thought, I want to get in there. And it's been a seed that was planted back in 2012 and in 2022 it became reality.
Wow.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah.
What kind of training do you have to do to...
Oh, so it's very, very intense training. In terms of
Is it like
more
gladiator type training?
So we do personal protection. So that's obviously once every 6 months we do that. But prior to going out on the beat, we have to do like 8 weeks of personal protection training. That's like 1 day every week we had to go and do that. And that was while I was still on training. So we had to do a 17-week course. When I say it was very intense, it's very legislation based, and it's a lot of learning to do. You think you're prepared for these things, but actually you're not.
So, before, back in the days, wasn't it right that you had to be a certain height?
Yeah,
That's
correct.
I believe it was 5.4. You had to be 5'4"
For women?
For anyone.
Oh, really? For men as well?
Sorry, Chef.
I'm not sure about men.
I always wanted to be a police officer.
I'm not sure, but now there is no height restriction because it's discrimination, isn't it? So they've scrapped that now.
Oh, are there any other criteria then? Are there anything that you have to...
The only criteria is you have to be fit and healthy.
Okay.
So that's
that knows me
medically
out.
you have to.
Chair and founder, I will say.
It's just obviously medically you have to be clear, and then you can join. Otherwise, there's no other.
Yeah, Dr. Watts had me off. I'm sorry. Sorry, people. I protect you.
Yeah. But what was the reaction? I'm just thinking, if I said to my mum, I want to be a police officer.
Yeah, well,
my mum would be like, what the hell?
What did
They
community...
didn't take it too well.
Oh, okay.
Initially, I didn't tell my family when I went through the recruitment process. So it took me about 9 months from application to receiving an offer. So I started in December and I got my offer end of July.
Oh, wow, okay.
So you're married, right?
I
So
am,
how was
yes.
your husband's reaction?
He was very supportive. I'll come back onto that.
Okay.
What can I say is because so at the time when I applied, my family didn't know anything about it. However, I did get my brother to help me in they have like a reasoning some sort of. So he kind of helped me understand what it was. So and then he was like, "Oh, what are you applying for?" I said, "Oh, some job in some Met staff role." And then he was like, "Okay." So he kind of helped me in that process of understanding the process of how to do it. And then we just left it at that. And then when I got my offer in July, I didn't tell them. So I got the offer in July, but in November I start. So I told them about a week before I started.
Oh, okay.
So they can't
Tell
say
us
anything.
more.
Yeah.
Tell us
They didn't
more.
take it too well.
Who's that? Mainly your parents? Cause I was
So
thinking,
my dad, my mum, my mum obviously she was like, "That's not a role for a woman."
yeah.
Straight up.
But what is it? Is it that it's not right for a woman or it's dangerous?
I think
or...
It's dangerous.
from them
It's
it's coming
dangerous,
from
isn't
a
it?
place of concern. So
Yeah.
obviously it's a safety issue first.
Yeah.
Because obviously I wear a hijab. So first and foremost, they see me as a hijabi police officer. So instantly there's already something for people to come at me. And secondly, obviously at that time, the Baroness report has come out and there was a whole inquiry in what the Met was, a racist institute and so forth. So based on that, my brothers were like, you don't know what you're going into.
Yeah.
It's a racist institute. Your safety comes first. We are concerned about that. I gave them some of the statistics in terms of, like, obviously, police officers don't get assaulted. No one's going to come up to you and shoot you. No one's going to come up to you and, hurt you in that way unless you're in an altercation. But there are cases where that has been, where people have come up to police officers and hurt them. But
you must have also had your own reservations at this point. It's a big step,
it's such
isn't
a
it?
heightened society at the moment
Yeah.
against Muslims, right?
Yes.
So to just be a hijabi with a target, doesn't matter if you're in police, but doesn't matter if you're going on the tube with a target, right?
Yeah.
So that must have, like, did that ever not cross your mind to think, am I doing the right thing here?
It did. So I think for me, it was lack of representation in the force. That was the first and foremost thing. Secondly, there's no female. So there are Muslim men out in the force. There are Muslim women there, but not like me. So not wearing the hijab. So I thought, I need to break this tradition. And actually, sorry, I'm not the first hijabi sister on the force. There are other female, but they're dotted out throughout. I think I've only seen 2 other female officers on the force. And one of them is in a different borough to me, and we started around about the similar sort of time. And again, like I said, it's a lack of representation. So I wanted to break that tradition because, traditionally that's when we would go into, office-based work, school-based work, and all the things that we can accommodate with our children, family.
Safe options.
Safe options, as my mum will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
But there are Sikh policewomen and Hindu
Yes,
policewomen.
yes.
And it's a society, it's a community thing, isn't it? Where we say that women of our South Asian heritage shouldn't be policewomen. It shouldn't go into the force, isn't it? So it's not just a Muslim thing, it's actually a South Asian thing.
It is.
But luckily they've broken the barrier and there's quite a few of them
I think
now.
they've broken the barrier quite a long time ago.
early on.
And there are a lot of Sikh, Hindu police officers about. I mean, I've got 2 on my team, and there are other within my borough. There are there, but I would say in my borough, in my team or the teams that I know of, I am the only Bengali police officer there at the moment. And recently a younger female has started as well. So I was so pleased to see, and she's also hijabi as well. So I was really pleased to see her. And there's another Somali sister that started 6 years ago. So she's been there for a little while. Alhamdulillah, like my colleagues are very accepting of, who I am, what I do. I mean, I talk about Islam all the time to them. Going to Hajj was one of them. They were like, oh, where are you off to? And I was like, I'm going to Saudi Arabia to do my pilgrimage. They're like, oh, what's that about? So I gave them a little insight of, what Hajj is about. And yeah, they're always very interested in anything I do. They will always ask me questions. And I guess I'm the first point of reference if they need anything in terms of like Islamically or what they
so
should
important,
do.
isn't it? Yeah.
And it is. And because the borough I work in, there is a high of Muslim population there as well. So
and it's being open to those conversations as well, isn't it? Because the amount of people they're not racist even, but the ignorance is there because they've never really sat down with a Muslim woman, for example, and had a conversation. Or if they have, like, that woman doesn't speak English, and then it's just automatic stop, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a huge language barrier, that too. And when you're obviously meeting somebody on the job as well, you're not going to ask those other questions to them. Whereas your colleagues, you'll be asked, actually, that happened. What do they mean by this? Or what can I do next time? And then you would just give them the lowdown. Or actually, this is how we, a lot of Muslim women won't handshake a male's hand because of religious reasons. So they understand, and if they don't understand anything, they'll come to me.
Oh, wow.
So do you feel like it's having that bigger impact?
Oh yes, it is.
That bigger impact.
So in my team, it's very female dominant. So we have less males in there, and when we work with the males, because we have to go out in twos, and they'll always, religion will always come up. In our conversation, religion will always come up.
So have they had to make any adjustments to accommodate you? Uniform-wise or anything within the office, anything?
No, not really, because all the facilities are there.
Okay.
But it was never I guess people use it in their own time, or they'll go to, the supervisors, and they'll ask for request leaves and whatever's needed. And they're very accommodating. So alhamdulillah, like last year during Ramadan, I took the whole month off. Reason being because it's a very hands-on job, constantly on the go.
Yeah.
And this is because it's the first time me being on the job. I didn't know how that would be with me. And also I just wanted to focus on my ibadah. So I'd taken the whole month off, and they were very accommodating. They were like, that's absolutely fine.
That's good.
What do you need? I gave them my reason, and I was off for 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Good on you.
But even, I'm just thinking, like in London as well, there is this, especially with the youth, this hate for the police as well. This is a new thing, isn't it? How's that been? Like being out and having to, you're dealing with young kids, probably your daughter's age, like people that and then suddenly it's like, oh, you're one of them. What do they call it? What are these words they use now?
I don't
all the
even
slang
know. I hear
words
all these slang words, but I don't even know what they mean. My daughter's like, you need to learn street lingo. And I'm like, why do I need to learn street lingo?
They need to speak properly.
I said to them, you need to speak properly. The thing is, there's age groups. So the younger generation, so I would say between 16 to about 20, you've got some haters that don't like the police at all, but then you have others that actually like the police, or they claim to like the police. They'll come and approach you and they'll ask silly questions.
Okay.
And then you've got the age group that I find quite difficult is between 20 to about 23-year-olds. And actually, some of the racism I receive is actually from our own community.
Wow.
I can imagine.
It's actually from our own community. It's not from, any other community.
It's like you've gone into the enemy territory.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, why have you joined the police? You're a traitor. As a Muslim woman, you can't join you can't be in the police. I'm like, but why?
Oh, yeah.
And is that women or men more?
It's mainly boys.
Yeah.
But the females, men, sorry, not boys. But the females, they are so supportive. They'll come up to you and they say, oh, you know what? It's so nice to see a Muslim female, a hijabi especially.
Yeah.
I remember my first day when I got my independent patrol status. So while you're on street duties, you have to attain that so you can go out policing by yourself.
Welcome to the Muslimah Sports Association, where empowerment and sportsmanship meet for Muslim women. Dive into our world of sports, tailored exclusively for you. From the exhilarating teamwork of football and the strategic plays of netball to the challenging strokes of dragon boat racing and the precision of fencing, whether you're looking to find your strength in wellness classes or experience the thrill of the NFL, we've got it all. Join a community where faith meets fitness, courage and camaraderie. The Muslimah Sports Association, where every Muslim woman discovers her champion within. Visit us today and kickstart your journey to greatness. Your sport, your sisterhood, your strength.
A female saw me across the street. She literally ran up to me. She gave me a hug and she said to me, I'm so happy to see some. And that just set it for me.
Yeah.
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 Because personally, I would feel safer if I saw a Muslim woman police officer. I would feel safer.
It builds that trust, isn't it? Because there's always been a mistrust that it's them against us.
Yeah.
They don't
Especially
like
in
us.
recent
They
times.
want,
There's
they're
a lot
looking
of this,
for
yeah,
issues and stuff. But if you see someone that looks like you in there,
Yeah, you are going to open up to them.
instant role model.
Yeah, it's instantly. I have been to, calls where they would only speak to me, and not my the male counterpart, because of the barriers that the community holds. And again, young females as well, they will speak to only female officers. But obviously if two male officers go and they request for female officers, we try and provide it. It's not say, well, we can't see you. They try, if a female officer is available and they're not at calls, then they'll try and attend.
Is that also because most of them don't understand English? Maybe they approach you for that. Is that, or do they?
No, so alhamdulillah, a lot of people are English speaking, so that's good. I guess it's the older generation that don't speak very good English, will request, or but the younger generation, they will open up to you about it because they know their rights, they know, what's available to them, what's not, and they'll speak to you as well.
Oh wow!
So are you happy with that decision?
Yes.
I am. I really enjoy my job.
Yeah.
Not the paperwork that comes with it. But alhamdulillah, I really enjoy my role. I've had nothing but good experience so far.
Alhamdulillah.
I haven't been assaulted.
Alhamdulillah.
That's, I think, now when I speak to my family members about it, they are they're accepted.
Okay.
They've accepted that obviously
Yeah.
I'm now in the force. They're proud.
Of course.
Deep down inside, I know they're
Yeah,
proud. They may not say it
yeah,
to me, but I
yeah,
know they are.
yeah.
But again, going back to when I didn't tell them, again, there was loads of barriers. You know, my mum didn't speak to me for about a few weeks. But that you know, hushed down, so it was fine. But again, even now when I sometimes mention to her, oh, Mum, I've got a night shift, she goes, oh, yeah, you know, you had to go out and get a job like that. You know, she'll go on a little bit. And then
I can imagine my mum saying that.
Yeah.
So I try not to tell her when I'm going on a night shift. I try not to
Don't
mention
complain
it.
about being sleep deprived or nothing because you're not getting no sympathy.
Nothing comes out my
You're
mouth.
getting nothing.
No sympathy.
No sympathy.
Yeah.
But is it full time? Is it, or you have?
Yeah, so I work 6 days a week. So we do 6 days on, 4 days off, and it's throughout the month. So, you know, I get, I think in a month we get 1.5 weekends, and then it just rotates.
And is it mostly night shifts for you, or?
No. So we do 2 earlies, 2 lates, and 2 nights. So earlies are 7 till 4, lates are 2 to 11, and then nights are 10 till 7 in the morning.
So how is it with your family life and your children?
Alhamdulillah, we've adjusted quite well. I think my husband loves it when I'm not at home in terms of, I don't give him an earful. But yeah, so I think he gets that break that he needs. I also get to be away from home, so I spend 2 days with my daughter. The 2 days I don't get to spend with her is when I'm working late. So she goes to school in the morning, I see her off, and then when I come back, I don't get to see her until she's in bed. So those are the only 2 days that I don't get to fully interact with her. And then the night shifts is obviously, she's, first day I get a full day, night 6, you know, kiss her good night, go to work. The next day, when I'm coming in, she's going out. So sometimes I take her to school.
Ship sailing
sometimes
in the night.
Yeah, sometimes I take her to school. Sometimes she's like, Mom, it's okay, I'll go by myself. And then I'm sleeping while she's at school. When she comes back I'm up.
Oh,
I get to spend
So what's your ambition now? I know you've only been doing this for 2 years, but where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I don't know. The Met is a huge place, and there's a lot of different departments that have taken interest in me. Going in, I've always said I wanted to work with women and children. Mm-hmm. But again, that's a very...
So there's specialist areas. I mean, I thought it was just like police and then
there's
CID
CID and then...
No, there's loads of specialists. So you've got crimes unit, you've got burglary team, you've got like murder investigation team.
Homicide.
You've got, and you've got safeguarding, you've got that department just deals with sexual assaults, you've got counter-terrorism, you've got like anything that you think of that's crime related, you've got a department in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just thought it was
You've got
homicide.
firearms. So firearm is another thing. I am interested in firearms, but I don't think I have the stamina to be, because you have to be really fit. But they are looking for women in firearms.
What does that involve? What is firearms?
Oh, firearms is so anywhere that's involving guns, like high situation, like, you know, situations where there's guns involved. So you go out with firearms, you know, to disarm, or if you need to use, you use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
But it's a really interesting, even as a PC, when we're at some calls and there's firearm officers, it's so interesting to get some of the stories from them, what they do, how they do it. It's very, very intense role. So it's not something that they do lightly.
That's it, because you know there's always department where you feel, they've got the juiciest stories, but actually it's hard work and it's scary, and there's a lot of pain and tears and everything that comes with that.
So every decision you make is crucial.
Yeah, exactly.
So for them, it's like decisions, you know,
Instant
split second decisions that they have to make.
So before we talk about your boat race, to go into policing, do you have to start as a PC, or is there other avenues to get into it?
So you can start. So I think there's different routes to get in. So we have what we call. So I went through the police degree apprenticeship, which I will attain a degree along with working for the police. So that's like, if you don't have a degree, you can go through that route. If you have a degree, you can go through another route, which is called police now, or it was called the DHEP previously. And that is, if you have a degree, it's a postgraduate, and then you go through that route. So you can start off as a PC, or you can start off as a detective.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So those are the 2 routes to get in.
Okay, and if anyone wants more information about how they get
They
involved,
can go onto Metropolitan Police website and Korea, and all the information is there.
Okay.
and you would thoroughly recommend it.
I would. So
Is there a certain character you need to be in the police, though?
I think you definitely have to be a people's person. I think one of the key things is to be a police officer, you have to be a people's person. If you're not a people's person, that's not the job for you. And you have to have a lot of resilience.
I was going to say resilience. That's the only word that came to my head. Yeah.
So you have to be really thick-skinned.
Very thick skin.
Wow.
You are going to get people that are going to personally attack you.
Yeah.
You can't let that get to you.
Well, do you
So
want
you have
to
to
ask
men-
about whether or not she's had a bad experience?
Go for it.
yeah.
Are we allowed to? What's the kind of
what's like the
worst shift
experience
you've
you
had or...
I'm trying to think. You put me on the spot now.
Okay.
Have
I
you
think
actually
in
disarmed
not in
someone or
terms
put
of
anyone in the
worst
headlock?
shift. I've had no. Like
Do you
I
wanna practice?
said earlier, I've had not had to restrain anyone.
Okay.
Actually, I did have to restrain one person. It was a mental health patient. She was having a crisis, and then she assaulted my colleague. So we had to obviously restrain her. With mental health patients, I don't know where they get their strength from.
Yeah.
they have
Honestly,
inner strength,
I
don't they?
couldn't even move her thumb.
Wow.
Even my colleague, he's a big guy. He goes to the gym regularly. Even he was struggling. We just literally had to pin her down and wait for further units to come and help us because we couldn't get her to budge.
Really?
We could not get her to budge.
But that's quite hard, isn't it? Like having to physically hold...
I
Like, that
know.
must
Yes,
be-
having to physically
Yeah.
restrain
Situation,
somebody,
isn't it?
Especially
it
knowing
takes
she's
a
not well.
lot. And on my body worn, all you can hear me is just breathing,
Yeah,
like
yeah. Okay,
just
let me lie down
breathing,
then.
just trying to. And I think it was about 2 minutes before another unit came to us, and that 2 minute felt like
long time.
hours,
Hours,
a long
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So you must see all different characters. What's the funniest story you got?
Uh-oh.
Being called out and you're thinking, what the hell is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, we get
What
all
a waste
sorts
of
of calls.
time, you know?
Honestly, we get a lot of neighbour disputes.
Oh, okay.
About that be Jenny.
Yeah. we get a lot of neighbour disputes. She called me this, he called me that. Which is obviously a civil matter, which we don't deal with. We get a lot of mental health calls. So
I was going to ask that. Did you?
we do get a lot of mental health calls. So we have to attend. People are not since COVID, it has been on the rise. That's I was speaking to my colleagues. It's just that mental health calls has just been on the rise. You get some funny ones, and you get some serious ones.
Yeah.
But you have to treat it, as with compassion.
Yeah. And I think, with mental health as well, and I was talking to someone else about this, when something is happening and you can sort of spot the signs, but you don't know who to call for help. Like, if it's a medical emergency, I'm going to call for an ambulance. And if it's like a crime,
That
we call
is
for...
so true.
And when it comes to mental health, like, they are unwell, but they're actually dangerous. But do I call an ambulance or do I call the police? And it's a really difficult
But isn't that in the
position,
training that
isn't
you
it?
do, though?
Yeah, so it's we get a lot of calls. So people always say I didn't know who else to call, so I called police.
Yeah.
So we're not medically trained, obviously. We have a little bit of training in terms of spotting if someone's having a mental health crisis, and we'll deal with that at hand, whatever we have. But we also have support of the London Ambulance. They will come and support us. They'll come and they'll do what they need to do in order to take them. But if the person is a harm to themselves and the public, then we can take them into a place of safety. And then
Do you put them in a cell?
police
that's what I
station
mean,
is
no,
not
yeah.
a place of
Okay,
safety.
sorry, I'm like, but what do you do?
So we'll
isn't
take
it?
them to
Like-
hospital.
Okay.
We have places that we can take them to, and that would be the place
Okay,
of safety.
good, because I thought that would be so sad.
That's the last
yeah.
place that we would take them
But
to.
I was thinking in that situation where you think they just need to be restrained or kept away from anyone. And, but I
So
think
we
that's
restrain them to stop them from hurting themselves and others. That's the
exactly.
reason why. And I think a lot of people would say to us, when someone sees it from the outside, they're like, oh, but he's unwell. Why are you? But they don't realize actually we are restraining them
For
to
themselves.
Danger to themselves and
you know,
others,
for,
isn't it?
for safety for ourselves as well as
Exactly.
them, because they could be hurting themselves, banging their heads, using their arms, legs, whatever it is, to hurt themselves and others. And unfortunately, we are at the receiving end of it because we get assaulted, you know, in the process. So, yeah.
Anything you wanted to ask, Chef?
Well, they want a demonstration apparently.
What
And the
demonstration do you
volunteer. They want me to lie down on the floor. And
Just a headlock will do.
But I'm guessing you've done like prison visits and
Yeah. So obviously,
So how was that? Because like the average person hasn't ever walked into a prison.
So I've not been to a prison yet. So that's obviously when someone's been through being charged and then go through. But we have custody. What is like when we hold the prison cells in the police. In the police buildings. So my first time going in there, I was so nervous.
Yeah.
So when we were on street duties, they obviously take you have to do everything. So you make an arrest, you have to get signed off and so forth. So my first time in a custody, obviously booking the prisoner in and then taking him to the cell. It was all I was so nervous. But I have to give it to my detainee. He was really good. Okay. He was really good. He behaved really. And then later I found all sorts about him. So I was quite lucky in that sense. Yeah. But he knew. I think that. So the regulars, they know if you're new or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
but
I think
did you never just go in and think, I'm just going to go and sit in a cell and see what it feels like? You never did that? I think I would have done. I would have. No, but I would have gone in and I thought, I've got to see what it's like.
For testing.
Because we only see it on TV.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's pretty much what you see on TV. The cell,
Yeah.
you literally just get like a soft
bed.
mattress.
Yeah.
Not a soft mattress, but a plastic
It's
mattress.
not even a mattress, is it? Like this.
Yeah, it's quite thin.
A toilet.
A toilet, bare walls,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's nice and warm. It's not too bad in there because obviously.
Because I think I would have just said to my partner, like, put me in for it. Let me just explain. But you got to experience it, don't you?
Honey, man.
Yeah, no, God forbid we ever experience that, to be honest. Yeah, but, you know, I don't know, curiosity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your imagination. Exactly.
But it's so I was really nervous my first time in custody, but then obviously you do it day in, day out, and then you just get used to it. And then first I was like, oh my God, like, why is that person shouting? Why are they calling? Because obviously you got people that are in there, you know, they'll call constantly. They'll say they want to, you know, hurt themselves. But you know, custody sergeants are there to look after them. So and they will always attend. And you're very weary, you know.
Yeah.
What's going on? You want to know, but
Have
we
you
don't
given
know that.
evidence in court yet?
No, I haven't had to.
Because I was like finding it fascinating how they recall details,
But
like
notes,
when
isn't
giving
it?
evidence. Yeah, but even if I had notes, I'll be like, I don't know what happened yesterday. Never mind.
So we have.
That's why you're not a police officer.
So we have our notes to
why they
look
said
back.
no.
We have our notes to look back on.
Yeah.
If there's body worn of the incident, you look back at that. And then you.
So you guys wear that
for
all
that
the
as well,
time
isn't
now?
Body worn is a.
That's a
Met
fairly
policy.
new thing, isn't it? Ish.
I would say probably been there for about 10, 15 years.
Oh, is it? And everybody wears one.
Everybody wears
And it has
one.
to be on.
So there's policies of time.
That's why you've not been in the jail.
No, but then I'm thinking.
So
but then how
there are
come?
times where we have to use it all the time. So when we're doing stop and search, it's mandatory. You have to put it on. When we're going to domestic calls, you have to put it on. So
you're allowed to turn it off.
Yeah, and even if you feel like, you know what, I'm going to turn it on for my safety, you just tell them, you know, you put it on and then you do
So you
what
have
do.
to announce that you're putting it on.
Yeah, you have to let them know that you're
Because it's one of those things, you know, like you hear of police officers doing the wrong thing sometimes.
Yeah.
And that scares me now. Because I've always been one of those people who grew up thinking,
Yeah, police are
police,
a role
you know,
model, yeah.
if they came, you'd bow down
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I've grown up with that kind of police officer. And then recently you hear of police officers, you know, doing
nasty
things
things.
and being horrible and being racist and being Islamophobic and all that. And that scares me because I think, well, if a police car tries to stop me when I'm driving, well, I would stop, I would comply. But now I have to be cautious of them as well. And so to think, okay, they've got a camera. If it was on all the time, I think I'd feel a bit more safe, isn't it?
Since they've introduced the body worn, complaints have been down.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not your words against the
Yeah.
officer's words. It's everything's recorded now. So, you know, and obviously people record their own as well. So and they'll send that in. So based on, you know, whatever's happened, they'll make a informed decision based on that.
Oh, brilliant. So what do you do to stay fit?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, yeah, of course. Look at those arms, you know?
I try and run, but recently I've not been very good.
Isn't it? This is your first time. on the boat race?
Yes, it was
so the
my first
MSA
time.
Dragon boat race is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I wanted to join last year, but I think you guys were full.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the opportunity. As soon as I think a space became available, messaged me and to say, do you want to come? And I was like, yes, I want to join.
That's
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? What was your experience like?
Oh, it was amazing. I loved it.
Any messages for any budding dragon boat racers that are there?
We're going to come back next year.
Yeah.
First place again.
Yes, inshallah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But yeah, Sophia's a keen runner as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to join the marathon,
That's maybe next year.
Okay. Inshallah.
It is on my bucket list to do, but that's obviously a lot of you need a lot of time and commitment for that, and I don't think at the moment in my diary I have that. But I try and run in terms to keep myself fit. I try and run at least 3 times a week. I've not been so good recently because I've had a small injury, but other than that, that's my go-to.
But do they not have a program like you have to do? I would have expected them to have.
No, so in order for you to pass your fitness test, which we do yearly, you have to pass what we call the bleep test, 5.4. That's the bare minimum that you have to do. And then obviously with each criteria, if you do in different departments, you've got like different set that you have to go through. But 5.4 is the bare minimum. That's as long as you're in a job where it can be physical, so you need to know yourself. You need to keep yourself fit to an amount where you can take somebody down, or they teach you techniques as well. So it's not all about being physically strong. It's about knowing the techniques and using them at the right time.
But the problem is, I'm guessing a lot of people start when they're young and they're fit and so on, and then years go by and the pot belly hangs out and everything else, isn't it? But it is that, isn't it? And
Podgy police
yeah,
officers.
you do, for PC
You'd be
plod and
thinking,
all
well,
this.
he's not going to run after me, is he?
Yeah. But that's it. But I guess if you're passing your bleep test, and if that's every year, then
I've not had to chase anyone so far yet, so that's good.
Any sort of like last messages to young girls thinking about being in the police?
Yeah.
especially Muslim
You
girls.
mean, yeah.
Join, I would say it's definitely a career because you don't always have to stay in frontline policing. There are so many different avenues that you can take. Once you get in there, I think the best place to learn is frontline policing. That's your bread and butter. So you will learn everything that you can think of. And then if you want to specialise in a certain area, you want to go into a certain area, world's your oyster. Go.
Wow.
Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
Yeah,
Thank
amazing.
you. It's been really, I've really learnt a lot from speaking to you. Well done. And keep inspiring people.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching the EmpowerHer Play podcast. You can download all of our previous episodes on whatever podcast platform you use, and we will see you next time. Thank you.